Hello, I'm Abby Duke, and this is part 3 of my video exam. For part 3, I'm just going to go over 3 articles that were presented in class and go over the theoretical contributions of each one and kind of critique the information that was given in each one. So the first one that I picked was Dayton and Zelli 2011, that explores workplace conflict or miscommunication among different generations. So the main concept or idea here is interactional perspective on workplace generations. So interactional perspective basically explores a number of axioms or assumptions of communication processes that helps explain why miscommunication or conflict occurs. So the contributions of this one would be that it takes in consideration how different generations communicate, view work, have different leadership styles, and prefer to get rewarded. So it considered all of those things as why conflict might occur. And it also, an axiom that they identified was called analogic codes, so differences in meanings of terms. So, for example, different generations may understand the term respect differently. So if a man that's 60 years old thinks a 20-year-old is being disrespectful, it could be due to their differing meanings of respect. So the 20-year-old might think that the 60-year-old is being disrespectful because respect to him means respect to the 20-year-old means that he is treated as an equal, whereas the 60-year-old might think that respect is where you comply to people that are older than you. So a strength of this article was that it analyzes differences with generations and how generations interact with each other. It gives suggestions to modifying communication styles, like alternate perspectives to solving problems or reframing. So maybe, this time take this suggestion by this person, and maybe the next time take this suggestion, and just kind of working together to solve problems among the generations. Some weaknesses I said in this article was that it didn't consider power relations. So power struggles, maybe the 60-year-old is at a lower level than a 25-year-old, and so they don't want to take direction from someone that's younger than them, whether they're in a higher position or not, or something like that. But for the most part, I thought that it identified interactional perspective and explained that well and presented it well. So I didn't really have too many weaknesses for this article. The next one was Ciez, Heath, Perry, Silva, Fix 2004, and it explores the causes of friendship deterioration within the workplace. So friendships that have been established in the workplace and then ended at some point. The main concept here are relational dialectics, which are tensions or struggles that arise within a relationship. So the contributions of this article was that it identified 5 causes of deterioration that included betrayal, promotion, and then conflicting expectations of the relationship or friendship. And it also identified how they communicated the deterioration, whether it was avoidance or they just didn't talk about, or they just talked about non-personal subject matter, or they just gradually separated until they just weren't friends anymore. And it also identified consequences of the deterioration. So that could be emotional stress, turnover, hinder job performance. Some strengths that I identified within this article was that it identified individual and organizational consequences like turnover, hindrance of job performance, etc. It was very relatable material. Everyone can relate to friendships deteriorating or being established within the workplace. And it also provided very complex ideas, and they were presented in detailed qualitative data. So I liked that. And it identified the what, the how, and the effects of this communication. Some weaknesses I thought was that the results may have found different dialectic tensions if both of the people in the relationship were interviewed. And it didn't consider power struggles or, breakdown in communication or interpretation of the deterioration. So, did what was communicated, was that interpreted the same way for both people? But I thought this was a very good article, and I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was very full of information and well-rounded. So the last one was Lammers 2009, and it was an analysis of the word profession and how seeing yourself in a profession affects work life. And so this is the main concept here is profession and how it kind of works in institutional theory. So how this affects the inner workings of an organization being, using the word profession. So some contributions of this was that it explained how organization functions. So the individuals were likely to share knowledge with each other. They had self-management of emotions, productivity. It identified internal motivations. So the individuals were more invested in the organization when they thought of themselves as professionals, and they contributed beyond the workplace. So it was kind of like they had a passion for it because it kind of led to other things that they wanted to do with their life. Some strengths is that it gives a detailed picture of how those who are professionals how they behave. It also explains how organizations gain legitimacy by treating or being thought of as professionals, and it shows strengthening in the person's commitment. And it was a unique subject. And then a weakness was that it looked at people that already self-identified as professionals. So I thought we could gain more importance, or the article could gain more importance if they identified, if they compared it to maybe like a restaurant where not everyone there might consider themselves a professional. But I thought that this was a really good It was a really good article, and I also related to it because one day I even told someone that, like, I worked as a host, and basically I said if we actually had professional hosts and if we were thought of as professional hosts, then people would take us more seriously. Customers and people within the restaurant would take us more seriously if we were thought of as professionals, because one time my manager said, "Oh, there's no professional hosts," and I thought, well, there should be, because then they might treat us a lot differently. So I related to it a lot. So that's why I really liked this one. and thought it contributed a lot to my own observations as well. So that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks, Dr. Brown.